As you relax and find yourself settling into the comfort of this moment, notice the power that lies in your ability to communicate. Your words, your gestures, your presence. You already know the meaning of any conversation. It's not found in what you think you say, but in the response you get. It's how the other person responds, reacts, interprets, and understands. So as you listen closely to what follows, notice how it all makes perfect sense. How these concepts just begin to fit in place for you. Now picture a conversation you've had recently. One where you felt misunderstood, or perhaps someone resisted what you were saying. As you recall that moment, you begin to recognize something fascinating. It was never about what you said, not about whether it was right, wrong, good, bad, honest, or manipulative. No, it was simply about how they received it. And that is where your true power lies. Your ability to shift, change, adapt your approach, your words, to meet them where they are, and gently guide them to understand you better. You see, they don't know what you know. They can never know what you know. And this isn't their fault. It's simply the nature of our individual maps of reality. And so, it's always your responsibility and your privilege to change the way you speak, think, and present yourself until you get the response you desire. If they resist, misunderstand, or even ignore you, the key is to notice their response. It's always an invitation for you to adapt, to bring your message into alignment with them, with their experience. As you do this, with each conversation you engage in, you'll notice how easily you begin to communicate more effectively, more deeply. You'll recognize how the resistance is nothing more than a signal, a sign to change your approach, your energy, your tone. Not to get frustrated, not to get stuck in the content of the conversation, but to shift the frame, change the structure, and offer something new. You're the master communicator. Have the power to guide the conversation in a way they not only understand, but can embrace with ease. Let's take a moment now to think of times when things went perfectly in a conversation. You spoke, they listened. They understood exactly what you meant. That felt good, didn't it? Now notice this. What you did then was something very simple, but very powerful. You matched their state. You attuned to them. And from there, you led. It felt effortless because, on some level, you realized the meaning of the conversation was in the response, and that you were simply adjusting your delivery to ensure that they got it. And you also know that contrast teaches you balance. When you experience misunderstandings or resistance, you're not failing, you're learning. You're learning how to adapt, shift your perspective, and grow. There's no failure, only feedback. In every conversation, you're constantly refining your communication, adjusting your beliefs and your words until everything just clicks into place. You might also notice your physiology. It plays a huge role in this. When you change your posture, how you stand, how you breathe, you change the energy of the conversation. Your body becomes the channel for communication, sending out signals of calm, certainty, and connection. As you begin to notice the shifts in your posture, you realize when you adjust your state, you open the space for the other person to respond in kind. This isn't about being right or wrong. It's about finding a way to meet them where they are, to create that space for understanding and alignment. Now imagine something powerful. You're in conversation, and they don't fully understand your message, or there's resistance. In this moment, you recognize it as a beautiful opportunity to use pattern interrupts. And you know, just by asking a meta-model question like, what makes you say that? Or what would need to happen for you to see this differently? You interrupt the automatic response and open a new pathway for understanding. You've shifted the conversation, shifted the frame, and invited them to come closer to your perspective. Or perhaps you decide to use a sleight of mouth reframe, where you take their resistance and gently reframe it in a way that shows them how it might actually be in alignment with something they value. Maybe you say something like, "I hear you," and it seems you're really interested in making sure this will work out well for both of us. I completely agree with that. You've taken their belief, gently reframed it, and created an opening, a space for them to see things from a new point of view. But most importantly, you realise change begins within you, and how you approach every conversation, every interaction. The idea of being heard and understood becomes the guiding principle. It's never about forcing a message. It's about finding that resonance with the other person, finding that shared place where both of you can align, and use the ability to adjust your communication until you meet them there, in that shared space. You'll notice the more you practice this, the easier it gets. Your beliefs will shift. Your responses will become more fluid, adaptable and powerful. You'll see you no longer get frustrated by misunderstandings, because now you recognise them as opportunities for growth, for refinement. You'll simply adjust, shift, and continue until the message lands, and you're both in harmony. This is your skill, your gift, the art of meeting others where they are, and taking them further. Remember, each time you change your approach, you create space for new possibilities, and the conversation moves forward. The more playful you become with your communication, the more engaging and charismatic you become. You'll be able to effortlessly handle any situation, knowing you have the ability to shift, to adapt, and to lead with ease. In fact, you might find yourself looking forward to those moments when conversations get challenging, because you know how to use them to refine and improve your approach. With each challenge, you'll grow stronger, more confident, and more powerful in your ability to communicate and be truly understood. And so as you allow these new ideas to settle in deeply with your unconscious mind, you'll notice communication becomes an effortless dance, one where you lead with grace and confidence, knowing you can always adapt, adjust, and take the conversation exactly where you want it to go. Feel how this belief is now taking root, and with every conversation you have, you become more effective, more understood, more connected. And you know, you always have the power to shift the conversation, to adapt, to meet others where they are, and to take them further.